Main card predictions now. Merab Dvalishvili versus John Dodson. Originally, I messed up the timing of this one. Uh, so you will see me speak in the middle of breaking the fight down. Sort of. It's only at the start. You won't miss much, but I will just fill in what I said during then. So Merab 5'6" versus Dodson 5'3". Merab's the bigger man. He is relentless with his wrestling. Um, he's a tough guy. He's in the prime of his career, 29 now, fighting out of Serlango. Tough guy to keep the match at pace with, relentless with takedowns. So yeah, I think that's all sort of I left out, but I just wanted to include it because I can't really have a video without an intro. So, alright, thanks everyone. Shane, uh, he's a bad man, like relentless with his wrestling, just crazy cardio, just puts a pace on these guys that they can't really keep up with. When he's on the feet, if he's not wrestling, he's always doing something. He's always very active. He's a guy I rate very highly. I actually thought the Casey Kenny fight was going to be a hard fight for him because Casey Kenny's very good takedown defense and stuff, and he just took him down relentlessly. So that fight to me was just like, whoa, like Jesus, this guy's just next level in terms of wrestling. He does let people get back up. They do get back up to their feet, but straight away just takes them down. Seen it Gustavo Lopez fight, seen it in the Kenny fight, seen it against Brad Katona. He's relentless with it, like. But the thing is about John Dodson, he is very short guy, hard to get underneath, hard to get takedowns on. So he has 80% takedown defense rate. Um, you know, he's just a tricky guy. So he is John Dodson. He mostly loses the strikers. He has a problem against fighters who are better strikers on him. Is what I'm trying to say. But we haven't really seen him fight anyone that's as relentless with wrestling as Merab is. Jimmy Rivera obviously has very good wrestling, but he is not a relentless wrestler like Merab is there when he gets in the cage. So it's hard to expect what we're gonna see here, but Merab will have big size advantage on Dodson. He's just a workhorse really, and John Dodson has a counter striking style where he doesn't really come forward against people. He likes to fight behind the black lines and counter him with his left hand. He does have some power in it, like so he does. He's always had it. So he knocked out TJ Dillashaw. He dropped DJ. He finished Nathaniel Wood was seen there in February. So he has power. He does have power. He has very good left hand, but I don't know if he's going to be able to hit it here. And I think if he does, I think Merab will be able to take it. And if he is in trouble, rely on his wrestling. But I do not think Merab's going to finish Dodson here. Definitely not. Dobson's never been stopped. He has a chin. He has a good beard on him. Like we've seen it in the arm fight. He takes shots well. He'll take whatever Merab's going to throw at him here. No problem. He'll take it. But it's just whether he can outpoint Merab or not, which I don't think he will be able to. I think Merab has too high volume, too high cardio, and he's just much more relentless than Dodson. So I like Merab there, but I don't like him as that much of a favorite, to be honest with you, because he is minus 190 here. but his decision line isn't bad. I mean, if you want to play it, go ahead, whatever. But personally, I'm not going to, because if it's a prop, I always like it to be plus money or above. You know, I always like to be at least evens. You know, especially decision line. It's a full 15 minutes, but yeah, I'm robbed there by decision. So Herbert Burns versus Daniel Pineda is the next fight. So we will look at Daniel Pineda first. So two no contest losses there, but they're wins. They're both wins. PFL. Both on the same night. It was that tournament to do. Both round one wins. So, you know, he hasn't been to the third round since 2016. We don't really know what his cardio's like since then, but historically speaking, Pineda's cardio is, you know, it's not bad, but he is a finisher. Pineda's mostly a finisher. If he's going to get it done, it's going to be by finish. He has a high amount of submissions, which I was actually surprised at, especially compared to TKOs. I was expecting him to have more TKOs and submissions, just like the fighter is, but so he is a vet. He has fought in UFC before, but it was way back in the day. Like, he went, let me see, he went 4-2, sorry, 2-4 in the UFC. Way back in 2012, 2014. Since then, he's been at Bellator, LFA, PFL. We've seen him in PFL test positive in his most recent two performances, which were on the same night, as I say. He tested positive for testosterone, so he's obviously not going to be able to get back on that stuff for this fight. You know, it's in Vegas, it's in UFC, it's in under USADA jurisdiction, but is he truly a PED user or not? I don't know. Was it a banned substance at the same time? I don't know. So who really knows? All I know is he did test positive in his last two performances, which is never good, especially considering the fact that he's 35. He is, you know, he's at the tail end of his career, let's be honest. He's getting a second shot at the UFC, so we'll see what he brings, but he's coming up against Herbert Burns, who's rapidly on the rise, you could say. All two of his UFC wins and one of his Contender Series performances have all been first round finishes. 2 submissions, 1 TKO. He ran over Evan Dunham, which I expected him to do, but I don't know why I didn't bet him there. It's just one I regret, to be honest. Because I knew he was going to win, but it was just, I was just taking other factors into consideration, which I shouldn't have been. But he beat Nate Landwehr. He knocked him out with that knee from the clinch in his UFC debut back in January. So he is staying active. This will be his third fight this year in 7 months, which is good to see. So we know what the Burns are all about, but Herbert's a wee bit different than Gilbert, to be honest. But mainly the Burns brothers are about getting on top and working their jiu-jitsu game. They don't necessarily have the best wrestling, but they'll use any means to get their ground. You know, trips from the back, inside trips, and stuff like that. But to be honest, I think Daniel Pineda will have an advantage on the feet here, and I just think this fight will get hairy for Herbert Burns in the first round. Even though I do think Herbert Burns wins this one, I just think that Daniel Pineda makes this a wee bit hairy in the first round, and you know, makes it closer than the bookies are implying. Because if you look at the odds, Herbert Burns is plus 260 favourite there. So, I mean, do what you want there, but personally, I don't like that line. I'd like it to be a wee bit closer. If he was like minus 160, I would bet him, but minus 260 is a bit high, or a bit low to me, should I say. Something personally I'm not interested in playing because Daniel Pineda, I would say, has the advantage on the feet here. But I do think this fight eventually hits the mat where Herbert Burns will submit Daniel Pineda because there's level to black belts, and Herbert Burns is just a higher level black belt than Pineda. If you watch Pineda's fights, after a while on the feet, he usually does. Don't know why, like he just doesn't keep the fight on the feet. He just shoots in and just if he's getting dinged on the feet or something, if there's slightest bit of trouble, he shoots a double leg or whatever. But I don't really think that's the smartest idea against Herbert Burns. And if he does it, it is trouble. But whether he will or not is, yet to be seen. But I think Herbert Burns is eventually going to get this one. After a hurry round one, I'm going to say Herbert Burns gets this one to the floor and submits Daniel Pineda, I think. But, the odds are far too wide, I think. It should be closer than this, I think. Because Pineda does have some powerful striking and decent, decent stand-up. If you watch the Movloyd fight in PFL, that's finishing sequence is just brilliant. Just he is powerful. He's a powerhouse on the feet, especially in round one. But I do like Herbert Burns to win here. I can see why he's big favourite, but I wouldn't play him at that line. And the submission line's crap. It's like 4-6. So nah, I don't really like it personally. So JDS against Jairzinho Rosenstruck. What worries me about JDS is his performance on the feet against Gilbert Burns. Now, I do know why. Well, I have reasonable suspicion to conclude that JDS looked that way on the feet because he was always waiting for the takedown of Blades. He was always more focused on Blades' potential takedown rather than Blades' hands, which is why I think he looked sloppy on the feet and he was taking a lot of damage from a guy that's not a great stand-up striker in Curtis Blades. So that's why I believe JDS looked like that against Blades in that one. Against Ngannou, Ngannou's just Ngannou, but I don't know about turning your back and all that shit that JDS was doing in that fight. That isn't a good look to me. It sort of seemed like he just gave up or something. Like he just sort of, I think he sort of knew the inevitable was coming against Ngannou and just took it. I don't know, because he didn't really do much in that. And then we see him against Derek Lewis, he just looks like a completely different fighter. And the Tuivasa one, he just looked good in them fights. He looked fluid on the feet. He was working his jab, he was staying long. And that's what I think Jairzinho should do, or JDS should do against Jairzinho here. If you watch JDS, especially in his prime, he fights very long with his jab. He backs people up. He threatens he threatens him with his power, but most of the time he's just jabbing them. He does have one of the better boxing in heavyweight MMA history of all time, especially in his prime. So he does JDS. So if he does work his jab here and keeps the fight long, which I hope he does, I think that's a good avenue for victory for him in this fight against Jairzinho, who is coming far, far, far too quickly back against after the Ngannou, just devastating KO, career changing, life altering KO against Ngannou. Get landed a bomb against. But the thing is, it's weird about George. I actually taped this fight last night. He exploits a lot of people who he has a better stand up game than. Arlovsky, Crowder, Albini. But against people he respects, like Overeem, if he respects their power, he backs off and is like tentative. So he does. Because Overeem was winning. Overeem was 4 rounds up against Jorginho in that one, I thought. So, to be honest, I can just see Jorginho, because he's coming back from that KO loss against Francis. I can see him being tentative again, like he was in the Overeem fight, because he didn't want to get knocked out, especially so devastating like he did against Ngannou. And I can see him staying on the outside, JDS just, jabbing him, staying long, like the old JDS in Derek Lewis fight and Blagoy fight, working his job, staying long. He will have he is a couple of inches taller than Jorginho, and he is bigger overall. It says 6'4" here for Jorginho, but he's not. He's like 6'1" or 6'2". He's not as big as it indicates there. And JDS, let me see. Interesting enough, Rosenstruck has the reach advantage, but JDS definitely fights longer. He has a higher kick reach. I just don't know about this fight. It's weird to me. I just think JDS, he's in the shape of his life. If you look at his Instagram, I think he can look like his old self, especially if Jorginho respects his power and stays patient, which I expect him to do here. So JDS is underdog. I'm gonna go with him here, but it's a hard fight to predict. JDS's chin is gone to me, to be honest. He doesn't like taking damage. He doesn't take it well. But at the same time, Jorginho, 2 months after he got bombed on by Ngannou, it's too quick of a turnaround to me. And also, I think he will respect JDS's power. So I'm going to go with JDS here by decision. Alright, moving on to the co-main event. Sean O'Malley, Marlon Vera. Interesting one. I like this fight. I think it's getting the respect it deserves. I think this is a big fight. Because I think it's, 2 top 10 bantamweights. Like, in terms of my rankings in the division, but 2 very skilled guys. Sean O'Malley, obviously a lot of people's on the hype train now. He's a very good stand-up striker. He's like a sniper on the feet. Since he came back against Quinones after the 2-year, USADA hiatus, after he got suspended and stuff, he has looked, I would say, Sugar 2.0, as he said. He has looked a different fighter. He's more ruthless, he's more calm. He just knows that the win's coming, rather than trying to bring the win to him. He knows that it's coming, which I always like to see, but he's going to be the longer fighter here. Interestingly enough, it's only 1.5 inch reach advantage for O'Malley, but he is the longer fighter by 3 inches in terms of height, and he fights long, so he does, O'Malley. But Marlon Vera has a different game. He's very kick heavy. We've seen it in the Sung Yudong fight. He likes to back fighters up and work his kicking game. He doesn't like to be pressurized, which limits his kicking game. He likes to back fighters up and just work their body, work their legs. And I think actually the low calf kick is somewhere where he can have a lot of success, Marlon Vera, in this fight, because Sean O'Malley, we haven't really seen him come up against a good calf kicker yet. We haven't seen him take much calf kicks. And one thing we do know is Marlon Vera is just, devastating with his kicks. So, you know, bookies have Sean O'Malley as about 3 to 1. Sorry, 1 to 3 favourite in this one. I think it's actually going past that, minus 315 now in the US books, which I think is far too wide. I think people's counting out Marlon Vera in this one too easy, and I think Sean O'Malley's going to be bad up even higher. I think he might go to maybe, minus 350, because I think people's going to be, especially casual bettors, adding them to their parlays and stuff tomorrow night, adding them to their accumulators. So I think, Sean O'Malley's going to hit even more ridiculous odds. I think this is far, far, far closer than the bookies are thinking. Personally, I would cap Sean O'Malley maybe 55-45, but Marlon Vera's, always tough guy to count out. Since we've seen him, since we've seen him come into the UFC in 2016 now, Jesus, 2015 actually, we were 2014, holy crap. Fuck, it doesn't feel like he's been fighting that long. He's really come into his stride in the last few years, especially 2019 was a good year for him. He's evolved the right way. He's added to his skill set. He looks better every fight to me, to be honest. He was coming up against Song Yadong in his last one, which is always a hard fight. But Marlon Vera made it close, as he always does. He's a hard guy to read off. I think he's going to be at a boxing disadvantage to Sean O'Malley in this one, but I just think there's spots for Marlon Vera to work from here. As I mentioned before, the kicking game is one of them. If he lands on top of Sean O'Malley, he can work his better ground game. Especially, if he does get on top. Chito Vera has very good ground game, so he does. Underrated, I think. So, there's avenues for victory, but I can see it as being a standard fight, much similar to the Song Yadong fight. And Marlon Vera just stay in the range here, better boxer. And most likely, I think this fight goes past 2.5 rounds and to the judges' scorecards, to be honest. Don't think there's finishing this one. I think people are underestimating Marlon Vera on his chin, because he hasn't been finished yet. And I think this fight will play out closer than odds indicate, to be honest. So this will be good for live betting, I think, this fight. But to be honest, Sean O'Malley does have the higher output. He has a ridiculously high output if you look at the UFC stats. 6.86 strikes landed per minute compared to Marlon Vera's 3.7 per minute. So that's almost double. It's a great fight. Sean O'Malley, I think he will have the slight advantage on the feet here. Sean O'Malley's a real deal, definitely, but I'm just saying Marlon Vera is a big test for him. I'm gonna go with Sean O'Malley to win, but I think it's gonna be a close decision, to be honest. I think just Marlon Vera can make this ugly with his kicks, with his pressure, with his durability. Don't think Sean O'Malley's gonna walk in there and KO him in the first round like he did against Eddie Wayne and Jose Quinones. So Sean O'Malley by decision there. Now for the main event of the night, Stipe Miocic versus DC for the trilogy. Now this one's for all the spoils. This fight, it's the past 3 years these men have both traded wins and losses with each other. It all comes down to this. Taped this fight a couple of weeks ago because I wanted to see if DC was a good bet or not, but because I do know it's in a smaller cage and stuff, where DC can work his wrestling game, and he can get the takedowns, but Stipe is just a hard guy to finish. When DC took Stipe down the first fight, or second fight, should I say, in the first round, DC didn't do anything apart from just work from full guard and just petty strikes, not the most damaging strikes. So if he does get Stipe down, which I think he will, I think he gets him down in round 1 here, possibly round 2. I just can't see him doing anything that finishes Stipe or hurts him. So saying that, I think Stipe, I basically think that DC gets him to the ground, doesn't finish him, and then that type of fight wears on DC. I think DC didn't go back to the wrestling, which he was so successful in round 1 against Stipe, because I just think it tires him out, that type of style. I think it does for basically every fighter, apart from maybe Colby and Khabib. Even Khabib it does, because you see him take off rounds, which I think DC was doing in the 4th round against Stipe. I think he was tearing out, and I think DC knew that he wasn't going to get Stipe out of there, so I think he took the pedal off the gas to recover, and then try to win the 5th round, so it would get him the victory, because he knew he wasn't going to finish Stipe, so he was taking that round off tactically, strategically, in my opinion. But obviously it didn't work out in his favour. Stipe, just a guy with really good cardio, relentless pace. He just comes forward and works his stand-up game, where he does have a 8-inch reach advantage and a 5-inch head advantage here. He is the bigger man, which isn't good for DC, because in his DC back in the day, he fought against Josh Barnett at heavyweight for 5 rounds, but that was 8 years ago. That was when DC was, what age was he? 32? 33 actually. So, basically the fight wears on DC more than it did back then. And see, back then he didn't wrestle Josh Barnett for the full 5 rounds. He mixed it up on the feet. I think if he has to mix it up on the feet in this one, I think Stipe just exploits him. As much as I love DC, he's my favourite active fighter on the UFC right now. I just think it's a very hard fight for him, especially when he is 41 now for a start. This is going to be his last fight. Stipe finished him in the last fight, and I know DC was winning the fight, but Stipe still finished him. DC get tired to me, and Stipe just turned it on him, body shots, which obviously accumulated the the cardio for DC, and they gassing out because he was just getting punished to the body. I think he ended up taking like 16 shots to the body at 4th round, which is crazy. And if you watch DC's style, it's always been a style, but it appears so more at heavyweight because he's coming up against bigger guys. He fights with his hands reached out, fully reached out, literally touching the hands of his other opponent, as you'll see in both of the Stipe fights, which is why he gets shit talked for eye poking and all, but he doesn't mean it. It's just he fights like that so he can prevent the reach disparity, and also so that he can get inside and work his boxing game, his dirty boxing game with the Greco and the clinch. So that's sort of his style, but Stipe realised that in the 4th round, and then instead of trying to put a shot over the hands, the outreaching hands of DC, which was taking some of the pop off Stipe's shots. He started going to the body because he knows DC holds his hands up high. He doesn't protect his body, so Stipe started going to the left hook to the body, and it worked a treat. DC historically doesn't take body shots well. We've seen it in especially the liver side, the left hook to the body, or the southpaw left kick to the body. We've seen it against Anderson Silva. If you go back and watch that fight, about round 3 with a minute to go, Anderson Silva almost finishes DC with a body shot in that one, with a liver kick, should I say. Sort of exploiting DC's inability to take body shots, especially on that side. And the reason I think that is because he is obviously he's very floppy to the body. He's not a leaned out guy. DC, he's pudgy. You know what I mean. So that's a reason why he doesn't take shots to the body well. And also because he's not trained to take shots to the body, as stupid as it sounds. He's actually not trained to take them because DC has only been training MMA for about 11 years now. But before that, he was an Olympic wrestler. He obviously wasn't going to be taking body shots back then, but I think that Stipe works the body again here. So I think he knows that the shot is going to be there. I think he knows that it's what he won the fight with last time. I think he knows it's going to be there when the fight resumes on the feet, when DC starts to slow down. I can sort of see it playing out in my head, so I can't, to be honest. Funnily enough, when this fight first got booked, obviously the first fight, should I say, UFC 226, I bet DC in that one, so I did. He was 2-1 underdog. I got him. I was loving it when he won, But the second fight, I thought he would win again, but Stipe just showed his grittiness, his will to win, his basically endless cardio for heavyweight. But there is a point to make that DC, maybe he gassed because he was wrestling in the second fight, because that he was only coming off back surgery that year. He had back surgery after the Derek Lewis fight, and then came back against Stipe after a couple of months. Right, so I think he had the back surgery in January of 2019, I'm led to believe. And then he comes back 5 months after in the training camp for the Stipe rematch. And usually DC was saying in an interview with Hilbani that it takes a year to come back from that exact surgery that that DC had for the Stipe rematch. And DC came back DC came back 5 months after, which is why he might have gassed out, because he was unable, as he says in that interview, to train wrestling. He wasn't able to wrestle in camp, which is why maybe he gassed out. So, that may be a reason why he gassed out. And he also said in that interview that he wasn't able to run. So he wasn't able to run in the lead up to the rematch because of his back. So this camp, DC has been doing a lot of run. So we're going to see a leaner DC, I think. He says he's going to be coming in heavier, but I think he will be leaner. I don't think I think more of it will be muscle rather than fat, because in the second fight he did come in a wee bit, uh, a wee bit, pudgy. Um, you know, so I think he's going to come in leaner. He says he's going to come in 240, but I think he will be, a healthier 240 this one. But overall, I do think that Stipe is the bigger man. And as I said, if you listen to the prelim breakdown, as I said, with the TJ Brown and Jordan Griffin basically fight from the TJ Brown and what do you call the guy? Danny Chavez breakdown. I said that whenever a fighter is taken down, constantly having to take down the bigger fighter, the person taking him down wears himself out eventually. So that's what I think is going to happen here. I think DC will take Stipe down 2 rounds maybe, and if he doesn't finish him, which I can't see him doing, because Stipe is as durable as it gets, I can see Stipe turning it on in the later rounds against DC and most likely finishing him. I can see, as much as I hate to say, it, I think that Stipe TKO's DC in the third fight and final trilogy. DC's my guy. Love him. Favorite fighter on the roster right now, probably. But it's a hard fight for him. Stipe is he's just a beast. He's hard to underestimate. And this is meant to be DC's swan song. It's meant to be his final fight. And historically speaking, fairy tale endings have never worked out in MMA, unfortunately. So, I would cap Stipe probably 55, 58 range. So it would. But I think it's going to be a good one for live betting, because I think DC is going to start quick and win the first 2 rounds, and then Stipe is going to come on later. It's a great fight. I can see why the books have it basically picking, but I do like Stipe as the underdog here. You can get him at even money, or like 2.05 on Betfair Exchange. So yeah, Stipe there, I like him, but it's a hard one. I just need to see how the odds end up and stuff. I think money's going to come in on DC, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, Stipe by KO, TKO on that one. So that is UFC 252 wrapped up. If you want to become a member, fire me across a DM on Twitter. Link is in the bio. Gonna have obviously live betting for this one. We'll have 2 pre-fight bet tips lined up for this card already. I might add a few more, but I'm not gonna force anything. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, UFC 252 in the books. Enjoy the fights, everyone, and good luck with your bets. See you on the next one.